Welcome to the Patriot Pastor. This is only our second broadcast. Welcome. I'm glad you're here. Please share this like crazy. I want to have 10,000 followers in 3 months. This is only our second week. We've been planning and promoting. We've got a great lineup of shows coming towards you. I've got some guests already lined up. Got more to follow. One of the guys I'm going to be bringing in is a guy that wrote this book. His name is Burgess Owens. He just got elected to Congress. I interviewed him a couple years ago, and he's a great guy. He wrote this book, Liberalism, or How to Turn Good Men into Whiners, Weenies, and Wimps. And this guy was a part of the Oakland Raiders championship football team that won the Super Bowl. By the way, how about those Buccaneers going to the Super Bowl? Pretty crazy. So bringing in some great guests. I want to keep this interesting. I don't want to just give opinion. I want to talk about facts. I want to make sure that we are engaging culture through the lens of Scripture. I'm a pastor, and I don't want to just be another talking head. I also want to be proactive. I want to bring real solutions. I know that there's going to be people that are going to criticize what I have to say because you're going to share this with people who don't share biblical values. They may have been Christianized, but they're not transformed. They really don't share a biblical worldview. And so they culturalize things. But I want to make sure that I really move people forward. I don't want this just to be for people that agree with me. I want to move people that are in the middle, or some people maybe who are reasonable on the left. There's a lot of things I'm going to say about the black community over the next several weeks, because it might be the number one worst thing that the Democratic Party has done, which is to destroy the black family. And because I'm a Christian and because I love people, I can't just stand by and watch this. And then to use black people as their foot soldiers to accomplish and do their dirty work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in some black folks and quote some of the great black leaders like Thomas Sowell, Walt Williams, Larry Elder. Larry Elder is Candace Owens' #1 mentor. He came up with a movie called Uncle Tom. We just saw, since George Floyd's terrible death, and we all agreed, reasonable people. I don't know anybody that thought that was okay. Everybody thought it was terrible. We were all united. And then it became exploited and used to justify violence and justify stirring up racism. And it's been a terrible season in our country, but I'm going to talk about it. A lot of guys won't touch it. They're afraid to touch it. I'm not afraid to touch it. I know that I love people. I know that I love black people. I know that, especially if you're a believer, we're the family. You're my family. So if you're a black person, you're not a believer in Christ, I still love you, I still care about you, and I want the best for you. So we're going to be talking about that a lot. But today, I want to talk about, here's my focus for today. The focus is, don't be ashamed that you voted for Donald Trump, okay? I have no apologies. I have no regrets. I voted for him in 2016. I voted for him in 2020. I am proud that I stood with Donald Trump, okay? And that's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about the accomplishments. I want to pull out, I've got a list of 30 good things that President Donald Trump has done for America, okay? I don't know if I'm going to go through all these things. I'm going to develop a few of these thoughts. But here's what I've observed. There's been overwhelming attacks on this president. It has been crazy, the amount of attacks. And in fact, I'm going to share some of those attacks where the media has been just unbelievable. Like, for example, the comparison of Joe Biden and the kind of treatment that he's gotten in just a week of his presidency is ridiculous compared to Donald Trump. For example, research director Rich Noyes at the Media Research Center was quoted as saying, "I have been studying the news media and elections for more than 35 years. Trust me, there has never been anything like it." He called this the most biased presidential campaign coverage in modern media history. And let me give you a couple examples of that. The Media Research Center analyzed all the evaluative statements made by reporters, anchors, and nonpartisan sources such as experts or voters, but not people identified as Democrats or Republicans, during June and July of 2020 on World News Tonight, that's ABC, Evening News, CBS, and NBC Nightly News. So the three traditional older networks, ABC, NBC, and ABC. This is the Media Research Center. They analyze the evaluative statements about Donald Trump, they counted 34 positive evaluative statements made about President Trump and 634 negative statements during those 2 months. Did you catch that? 34 positive statements, evaluative statements about President Trump, and 634 negative statements during those 2 months. By contrast, there were 8 positive statements and 4 negative evaluative statements about Joe Biden during the same time period. Really? Biden had become the presumptive Democratic nominee on April 8th when Bernie Sanders suspended his campaign. And so these numbers indicate that for every time that viewers heard a negative evaluation of Biden, they heard 158 negative evaluations of Trump. For every positive statement they heard about Trump, they heard 18 negative statements. This is not balanced reporting, nor is it responsible journalism. There's a guy that I have banter with in Baltimore. He calls himself a journalist. He's worse than this. You know, if you're going to be a journalist, you're supposed to be objective. You're supposed to look at things and report on an objective position, not a biased position. So some people may object that the Media Research Center is a politically conservative content analysis organization, but that does not invalidate their tabulations, which I suspect would be consistent with the perceptions of any viewers who watch these newscasts for a few days. For example, when I go to CNN or MSNBC, I literally laugh out loud to think, are you kidding me? I talk to the TV like I can't take it. I can't take it, the media bias that is there. And so I wanted to come back, and also the intimidation, the first week of the new President Biden election and the inauguration, there's been major cancel culture. People threatened books being canceled by publishers, and there's this commentary about the purging of Trump voters and people. Are you kidding me? I'm going to tell you something right now. I voted for Trump because he is the most aligned candidate to biblical values. That's it. I had those values before Donald Trump. I did not vote for Donald Trump in the primary in 2016. I voted for Ted Cruz. I voted for Ted Cruz because I felt like he was more aligned with biblical values. And then when I saw Trump win the nominee, I said, well, the Republican Party is more aligned with biblical values. Then I watched Donald Trump and the appointments of judges that he made. I watched his policies. I saw the people he pulled around him, evangelical leaders that were praying with him and influencing him. I was shocked at the level of support for Christian values that he demonstrated. It was shocking. I was amazed. And so I don't regret that at all. I'm a Trump supporter because I am a Christian who's reading. I've read the Bible 13 times through in my life. I'm going in my 14th time right now. I preach the Bible every week since 1995, but I've been preaching since 1979. I bet there's few people who've been in the Bible as much as I have. And I'm not saying that because I'm somebody. It's just that I was raised in that environment. My mother read the Bible to me 3 times at the breakfast table as a kid growing up. The Hurlbut storybook of the Bible. So when you have a biblical worldview and it's in you, when you recognize through people's statements and their practices that they are transformed and they are, we know what a biblical worldview looks like. And so that's why I'm unashamedly a supporter of Donald Trump. I don't think he incited violence at the Capitol. I think that is a pile of garbage. I think that people are taken out of context. I heard what he said. He encouraged people to move to the Capitol peacefully and patriotically. Those were his 2 words, peacefully and patriotically. People have to take responsibility for their actions. Who did that? We agree it was wrong. People were hurt. People died. It was wrong. But here's what the Democrats need to do. For months, they never said hardly anything about decrying the violence in major cities around the country. That was wrong too, and they were wrong for not condemning it. So there's hypocrisy there. So I want to praise Donald Trump on his presidency. This is the first opportunity after he's no longer a president, so I wanted to do that. So here's some of the remarkable nation-changing good things that Donald Trump has accomplished for America. Number 1, judges. Trump has appointed 3 Supreme Court judges, Neil Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh, and Amy Coney Barrett. And these people are pro-life leaning judges. Now, they were hammered on that. Here's the other thing that's probably the most important. They treat the Constitution as an original intent. They are originalists. That means that they don't treat it as a living document. They approach the Constitution. It says what it says. We're not going to read into it. We're not going to try to interpret some other way. And so I think that's very important, because when these people who try to make it a living document, they can just make application and extraneous interpretations that take us in very wrong places. So he's appointed that judges. I know of at least 146 district court judges, I believe more. And he's also 2 judges for the Court of International Trade that I didn't even know that. They've all been confirmed by the Senate. In addition, 64 more have been appointed and are awaiting Senate confirmation. This is old. This is actually a document Dr. Wayne Grudem put together. He's a very astute theologian. So his appointment by these judges is really significant. As an evangelical Christian, I'm glad to see that especially these Supreme Court appointments have already been responsible for highly significant cases that increase religious freedom, such as the decisions to allow state aid that is given to non-religious schools to be given also to religious schools. That was a decision made in Montana. Another thing that these new Supreme Court judges decided is to protect the right of religious schools to hire and fire employees based on the school's religious convictions. And number 3, to allow religious groups to be exempt from government regulations that would otherwise cause them to violate their consciences in matters of birth control, and by implication, probably in matters of abortion and same-sex marriage. And so that's important. This appointment of judges is absolutely a huge accomplishment, okay? Another great thing that Donald Trump accomplished is historic tax cuts and deregulation. After 8 years of high unemployment and meager growth under President Obama's administration, the Trump tax cuts of 2017 and Trump's extensive canceling of excessive government regulations on businesses have given a tremendous boost to the American economy. An estimated 25,000 pages of regulations have been canceled, resulting in a savings of $3,100 per household per year. Another result of tax cuts combined with deregulation has been the addition of thousands of new jobs. And by the way, everything I'm saying, I can share with you the source. If you want to comment on this, you want these sources, I can share you the source. I'm not just shooting from the hip here. Another result of these tax cuts combined with deregulation has been the addition of thousands of new jobs, so that unemployment before the coronavirus crisis fell to the lowest point in 50 years. That's big. And unemployment among African American and Hispanic workers was the lowest it has ever been in history. By the way, Donald Trump received 23%, I believe, of the African American vote. That's the largest percentage that a Republican has ever gotten. So we are making inroads for people that the lights are coming on. People are becoming woke. They're becoming woke to the negative policies of the Democratic Party that's destroyed black homes and created dependency, an attitude of victimization and entitlement, and then it's turned into rage where they feel like violence is acceptable. Democrats have caused this, starting with Lyndon B. Johnson, and it's not okay. Donald Trump caused unemployment among African Americans to be the lowest, and Hispanic workers the lowest it's ever been in history. That's significant. On Election Day 2016, the Dow Jones Industrial Average closed at 18,000. As of August, it stands at 27,000. It went over 30,000 before Donald Trump left office. Okay? These economic changes affect ordinary people's everyday lives. I can go on and on. The third thing, building a stronger U.S. military. He understood peace through strength. Why have the Muslims not acted out since Donald Trump has been in office? Why? Because they know they have a guy who doesn't want to be in war. We haven't started any new wars under Donald Trump's administration. But if we go to war, it will be swift and we will take care of business. They understand that. And plus, we didn't give them billions of dollars like Obama did, gave the Iran regime billions of dollars. No wonder they could fund all this craziness. But building a stronger military has brought us to a place of peace through strength. And he reversed the massive budget cuts that had seriously weakened our military under the Obama administration. President Trump has increased military spending by nearly $150 billion per year, from $605 billion in 2016 to $750 billion, steadily rebuilding U.S. military readiness. That's a great thing. Number 4, protecting unborn babies. Numerous executive orders have increasingly restricted government funding for abortions. And by the way, in just 1 week, Joe Biden is signing a record number of executive orders, largely undoing most of the things that I am reading right here. Protecting unborn babies. The executive orders that Donald Trump signed increasingly restricted government funding for abortion, such as the reinstatement of the Mexico City policy. On February 22, 2019, the Trump administration announced that it would not allow organizations that provide referrals for abortions to receive federal family planning money, which implies a cut in funding for Planned Parenthood, the nation's largest abortion provider, unless they perform abortions in a separate facility and not refer patients to it. And on May 2nd, 2019, the Trump administration's Department of Health and Human Services issued a new rule protecting healthcare workers who decline on the basis of conscience or religious conviction to participate in procedures such as abortion or assisted suicide. Trump was the first president ever to personally attend the pro-life March for Life in Washington, D.C. on January 24th, 2020. On this issue alone, Christians should have been united. I don't know how people can vote for abortion rights and call themselves a Christian. Abortion is murder. Abortion is murder. Don't call it it's a woman's right to choose. Well, then there's females in the womb that are being killed every day by the thousands. There's more people that want to adopt babies in America. People having to go out of the country to get international babies. I've been to China twice. I come back from China, there's crying babies. I was trying to understand what is with that. On the way back, there's little Chinese female babies. What's going on here? I found out, well, they're adopting them. You know why they're adopting Chinese females? First of all, the Chinese want males because they have had a restriction on the number of babies they could have, and they want a son, so they just get rid of the female babies. They're adopting them out or whatever. If they're not aborted, they're somehow alive. They make it through that, or in other words, they decide to have it. The parents want to adopt. Americans are flying over there like crazy, getting Chinese babies. There's people that would adopt these babies and help them and love them. And I'm thankful for Donald Trump. That was the only president to attend a pro-life March for Life. Now, I'm going to tell you something right now. That takes a lot of guts. He was clearly a supporter of the pro-life movement. That's a huge accomplishment. That's why I'm not ashamed to be a Donald Trump supporter. Number 5, expanding educational freedom. President Trump appointed Betsy DeVos, one of America's leading advocates for greater school choice. You know, one of the best things that happen for education is competition. In Florida, we have charter schools. You know what? Talk about the black issues and black families, because that's been brought to the forefront. You know, the Black Lives Matter movement. I'm talking about it because it's been brought to the forefront. When black families who are in a bad community, a rough community, they have a choice to take their kid to a charter school where they have traditional values as far as discipline and cooperation with parents. In fact, one of the schools here in this neighborhood close by, the parents have to go to PTA. You have to be involved. Your kid has to have a certain GPA. There's no tolerance for disrespect. You have to do your homework. Kids will thrive in that environment of discipline. If a black family has choices on that, their kid is going to do better. They're going to have better opportunity. They're going to have better a chance to get a better job and rise up to a place of self-sufficiency and enjoy life. President Trump put someone over education who was a big advocate of school choice. She was the Secretary of Education, resulting in rising support for charter schools. One of the worst things that happens is teachers' unions. I have a degree in education. You know, I was trained as a teacher. You know, I did student teaching. Both of my parents were educators. All my aunts on my mother's side were all educators. I am pro-education. I'm all about it. But the unions had taken a stronghold on competition. And you know what? Charter schools is a great option for people. We need that kind of decision making, and Donald Trump did that. And she supported charter schools and taxpayer-funded vouchers that gives parents an option, and tax credits for private school vouchers programs aiming at expanding options for parents looking beyond traditional public schools as she brings attention to them. That was a huge victory for America. Number 6, standing with Israel. He reversed President Obama's repeating marginalization and shunning of Israel. Barack Obama consistently shunned Israel, shamed Israel. President Trump has reaffirmed our commitment to support and defend Israel. He decisively moved the United States Embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. It was voted in the mid-90s to do that. And every 6 months, Congress had to vote again to pass it off. Why? It was controversial. Oh, we don't want to upset the Palestinians. We don't want to upset the Arabs. We don't want to upset the Muslims. You know what? Donald Trump said, no, Israel is our ally, and we're going to move our embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. Who did anything? Nothing was done. There was nobody doing any foolishness. Why? Because they respected our military. They respected our leader. We stood with Israel. Genesis 12, that's a value of the Bible. If you stand with Israel, you're blessed. If you go against Israel, you're cursed. Genesis 12 talks about the everlasting covenant that God has with his people. He welcomed Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to the White House several times and has repeatedly reaffirmed his support and our support for Israel. You know, there was an article in the Jerusalem Post that said that Israel has never had a better friend in the White House than Donald Trump. Another reason why I supported Donald Trump. Number 7 reason why I supported Donald Trump. Negotiating a historic agreement between Israel and the United Arab Emirates. So many presidents. I remember Jimmy Carter, different presidents trying to negotiate new deals. There's always been a Mideast crisis in my entire life. I don't remember not having a Mideast crisis, but he negotiated a historic agreement between Israel and the United Arab Emirates. On August 13, 2020, President Trump announced that Israel and the United Arab Emirates had come to a historic agreement to establish full diplomatic relations between the two countries, including the establishment of permanent embassies and the beginning of direct airline flights between the two countries. This was a huge, huge, huge accomplishment. But when you got 634 negative statements about Donald Trump in 1 week and only 34, how's it going to overcome that? And you got more positive about Joe Biden than negative. It's a tidal wave of negativity. Some people don't like Donald Trump's personality. You know why? Donald Trump knew what was going on. He's calling them fake news. Oh, he's not nice. He's rude. When you know that people are lying about you every day and you see it, how long does it take for you to get upset about that? I'm a pastor here. I've dealt with disgruntled people and people who criticize me my entire ministry. And as a pastor and as a Christian, I say, Lord, help me to love my enemies and speak the truth in love. And I've had some confrontations with people. I found that when you pull people one-on-one and you look in their eyeballs, they don't want to say stuff. All of a sudden, they can't find their spine. But you know what? If someone has confronted me with something and I've done something wrong, I apologize. I just say, oh, Lord, forgive me. And I ask the person to forgive me. But most people want to talk behind your back. People would just slam him, and he got enough of it and said, you're fake news. It's true. It's true. He was right about that. Listen, I'm not talking about justifying exaggeration. I know that Donald Trump exaggerated sometimes. I realize his salesman part of his personality, there was definitely exaggeration. Everything's the greatest. This is the greatest in history. I realize some exaggeration there. I totally see it. My eyes are wide open. But I also saw the unfair treatment from the media to Donald Trump, okay? So, I keep going. I'm just going to do a few more because it's enough for one day. He actually built the border wall. It's over, as much as 450 miles. He relentlessly battled against Democratic stonewalling and liberal federal judges to build an effective, secure border wall along more than 200 miles of our southern border, and it reached up to 450 miles before he left office. That's a huge deal. This new president is dealing with people coming. Why are they coming? Because, they figured, this is a Democratic president. He's just going to open up the borders to everybody. Now, listen, how is that going to work? Overrun our emergency room facilities where they can just come and get free care. They can come and overrun our schools. Then they're going to have loyalty to the Democratic Party, and that's maybe part of the agenda. And then we got all these people in line waiting to go through the normal process of immigration. We're not respecting the law. And we're going right back to the insanity of Barack Obama there. We want to treat our stranger appropriately in the land. That's a biblical value. But we are a nation of laws. And what Donald Trump did is actually follow the law. People are afraid to deal with immigration reform. But you know what? He proposed that. That's the 9th reason why we should be proud that you voted for Donald Trump. He proposed comprehensive immigration. Donald Trump has proposed and worked for sensible, comprehensive reform of a broken immigration system that would change our policy on illegal immigration from a system based on extended family connections and randomness to a system based on merit, so that we prioritize admitting people who will be most likely to contribute positively to American society, as well as those who are escaping from genuine threats to their lives and their homelands. I'm just going to give you one more. I think we've been going about, 20 minutes, close to that. Religious freedom and freedom of conscience. President Trump's administration has repeatedly and continually worked to defend religious freedom, and his Justice Department has defended religious freedom in numerous court cases, such as supporting the case of Colorado cake designer Jack Phillips in the Supreme Court. Phillips faced massive fines for politely declining to design a cake celebrating a same-sex wedding. And the right of faith-based organizations not to be forced to provide access to abortifacients through their health care plans, overturning the Obamacare HHS regulation that had forced them to do so. In addition to the first year of Trump's presidency, the Department of Justice issued a strongly worded 25-page memorandum detailing exceptionally strong protections for religious liberty. This is very important because the left has decided what is morally right. They have decided for us, and they have taken a condescending moral high ground that, no, you religious people are judgmental, you're hateful. For us to have a moral standard, we're hateful. And they're trying to put labels on us. Donald Trump was a friend of the Judeo-Christian family to say, hey, I respect your values. You should have the freedom of conscience. You shouldn't have to do things that go violate your conscience. That was establishing or undergirding the freedom and liberty and justice for people of faith. So those are just 10 of 30. Let me just read the other ones. He withdrew from the Paris Climate Accord. Ridiculous restrictions from that. He energy production and energy independence. We established energy independence for the first time in American history. He approved the Keystone Pipeline. Thousands of jobs, saving millions of dollars. Guess what Mr. Biden has already done? Undermine that. 13, waterways of the U.S. He returned that control to the private lands, to the owners of those lands, rather than the federal government. Waterways of the U.S. Halting the increase in corporate average fuel economy standards. This is the Trump administration decision halted the Obama-imposed harsh annual increases in projected average miles per gallon required in new cars every year. 15, he defeated ISIS, swiftly went in, took out Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, took him out quickly and just lopped off the head. They went away. 16, he persuaded European nations to pay more for NATO. Since World War II, we're over there protecting these people. He said, no, you need to help pay for this. Good move. 17, protections against false accusations on college campuses. President Trump's administration has restored many due process guidelines that universities must follow in processing Title IX accusations of sexual assault on university campuses. Number 18, protected freedom of speech on college campuses. Number 19, protecting boys and girls' bathrooms, locker rooms, and sports teams. On February 22, 2017, President Trump directed the Department of Education to revoke the Obama administration's guidance letter that had directed schools to allow children who claim to be transgender to use the bathrooms, locker rooms, and showers of their choice and to join sports teams of their choice, even when their choice is different from the biological sex. We are seeing Joe Biden bring this back. I'm telling you right now, if you are a father of a daughter who has to compete against some biological male, you need to fight that. You need to raise Cain. You cannot let that happen. This is insanity. This is ridiculous. The Bible says that God created them male and female. We can be sympathetic to gender confusion. We can counsel people. We can be kind to people. But there's lines we can't cross. You were born a male. You have testosterone in your body. You have an unfair advantage competing against a female. One of the great things Donald Trump did was roll that back or reverse that from Obama. Now Joe Biden is taking us back. Bad stuff. Number 20, negotiated new trade agreements that are more favorable to the United States. He's a great negotiator. Negotiated new deals with Mexico and Canada and China. No wonder China didn't want Donald Trump to be in the White House. He negotiated a hard deal. I can keep going real quickly. Number 21, streamlined environmental reviews for major construction projects. Construction picked up under Donald Trump's administration because there was such a backlog of red tape and regulation. He streamlined the environmental reviews. We want to take care of the environment, of course, but let's not make those regulations so restrictive and the process so slow that business can't move forward. 22, we sent weapons to Ukraine. One of the basic ways that we can help stop an encroaching, expanding Russia is arm their enemies. President Obama sent only humanitarian aid to Ukraine. President Trump authorized the selling of actual military equipment to Ukraine, including Javelin missiles, which were necessary to defend against Russian aggression. Number 23, standing up to China and Russia. It's obvious. It's been all over the news. Donald Trump was right on that. Number 24, withdrawing from the Iran nuclear deal. Of course the Iranians hate Donald Trump. He was the one holding them accountable. Why should we play it fair when they're lying to us? So Donald Trump pulls out. So that was a wise thing to do. Number 25, a wise COVID-19 response. I'm going to be talking about this more in the next couple weeks. I want to know how many people actually died from COVID. It's not 400,000. When you got a guy that has a motorcycle accident, and he dies from the motorcycle accident, they count that as a COVID death. I'm sorry, folks, that's not. That was used as a bully club to beat Donald Trump down and to convince people who don't know the truth. What was the truth? We didn't have 400,000 people die from COVID. They may have had COVID in their body when they died. I want to know the truth. I want to know how many people died from COVID, not with COVID. I think I just mixed that up earlier. I want to know how many people died from COVID, not who died with COVID. He had a wise COVID-19 response. It's amazing right now. Joe Biden wants to open all the schools after the election. Hypocrite. 26. And it's not because the numbers have changed a whole lot. Number 26, reforming the Department of Veterans Affairs. There's a lot I can say about that. He signed the Veterans Accountability and Whistleblower Protection Act. Number 27, criminal justice reform. President Trump signed the First Step Act. On December 21st, 2018, this law gives judges more flexibility in reducing mandatory sentencing guidelines in individual cases, eliminates the 3 strikes requirement of life imprisonment for some offenses, and improves opportunities for academic and vocational education within prisons, provides more support for the successful reentry of released prisoners into society, and requires prisoners to be placed in prisons near their place of primary residence where possible. Look into the First Step Act. African Americans, blacks in America should have voted overwhelmingly for Donald Trump. Joe Biden was a friend of racists in government. It's crazy. Let me tell you, there's been so much lies. That's why I wanted to take this segment today. 30 great things that President Trump has done for the United States of America. He reduced prescription drug prices. 29, protected federal property from rioters. The movement that began as peaceful and well-justified protests against the murder of George Floyd, was soon co-opted by the presence of lawless rioters. He basically said, look, you're going to have a fine of $10,000 if you destroy a federal statue and a monument, and you're going to have to face some legal action. And he put into motion protecting federal property from rioters, and all of a sudden it calmed down a good bit. The last thing I'll say, he welcomed evangelical Christians into positions of influence. He surrounded himself with godly people. 30 great things that President Trump has done for America. Do not be ashamed that you stood with Donald Trump. He was a great president. We're going in a bad direction, and I wanted to make sure you heard from the Patriot Pastor. Glad you tuned in.